Recently, there's a Sunni Imam that was caught being a diddler. What's a diddler? Somebody who abuses little kids for sexual deviancy. So yeah, this man called Waseem Sharieff, as allegedly, well, it's not alleged, it's pretty damning evidence, where he solicited one of his students, which was a mother. This mother had an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old. She had a minor. And Waseem Sharieff, the Imam who taught people how to recite the Quran, and he thought he was a very good teacher in regards to bring people closer to Allah. One of the ways that he decided that women can get closer to Allah is by sexual deviancy and masturbation. So he convinced this mother that when you do release and reach your climax, that this actually gives you a clarity and brings you closer to Allah, as long as Mr. Waseem was witnessing it so that he can give her tips on how to perform this getting closer to Allah through sexual deviance. But this didn't stop there. The mother also wanted her daughter, this minor, to get closer to Allah, which she was 6-year-old, 7-year-old, or 8-year-old. She was a minor. And the mother taught her on how to watch pornographic material involving adults and how to use toys for her to release her sexual urges at 8 years old. And with that said, that was also videotaped and passed to this Imam that teaches the Quran, and again, teaches, i.e. parrot the Quran rather than learning the proper meaning and the exegesis of the Quran. Obviously, this is a no-go in any human brain that understands the innocence of a child and that the child should not be introduced to such things. And there's a lot of outrage from Sunnis right now, and a lot of people are making videos about how disgusting this action was and on how despicable Waseem Sharieff is in the actions that he took and how he hurt this mother and lied to the mother for him to fulfill his sexual deviance.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. Inshallah, today in this video I'm going to be talking about these heinous allegations that have been brought forth against Waseem Sharieff, who was a teacher, who was considered to be an imam, somebody who was involved in very prominent organizations, Islamic organizations in the United States. And obviously it should go without saying that people are disgusted by this. It's beyond words. It's sick. It's shocking. You know, it's a level of sickness and depravity that I never even thought was possible.
But there's an important lesson here, because I have a question for all you Sunnis with your outrage. It's a very simple question. If Imam P. Diddy decided to send a letter to the mother of the child, and he said, I want to marry your daughter, and I want to have 2 witnesses that there's now a marriage contract between me and this minor. And then after the marriage is fulfilled by your standards, and now there are witnesses that this is technically his 6-year-old, 7-year-old wife.
I tell you the truth, I've even gotten people married on WhatsApp. And now there's a difference of opinion on the matter, but I was driving and this guy, he called me and said, look, I'm gonna commit haram. He goes, I've got 2 witnesses ready on this WhatsApp group. Can I add you and you do the thing? So I brought them in. I said to the woman, I said to her, listen, this guy's probably going to leave you. I know this guy. And he was like, what are you doing? You're here to try and make things easy for me. I said, but it's not fair on the poor woman because we know that you're a pernicious man. You're a khabith. And I said, what's the mahar? And the guy said, you don't want to hear this one. This is before McDonald's was on the boycott list. He goes, I'm going to give her a meal in McDonald's. I said, sister, don't do this. I said, at least have something. No, she said, I don't mind, I don't care, you know, whatever, you know. It happened, and he did, in fact, divorce her, unfortunately. But I said, I told you so, and that was it.
And then he asks the mother, hey, can you send me nudes of your daughter? Is that now something that is permissible in the eyes of God? Would you have experienced all this outrage online in regards to this safety and this disgusting act that he did? Now, this is something that you guys attribute to our prophet. That our prophet married a 6-year-old and he had no problem seeing her naked when she's a minor because it's his wife. Obviously, this is not the discussion of our talk, but this is the cognitive dissonance that you guys cause to yourself without realizing it. And then you're putting the prophet on par with someone like Waseem, which is, to me, quite gross and just crazy to think about it. But you know what our discussion is today? It's about how the damnation of God gets fulfilled on those that sell the word of God. Now, Imam Diddler, he did spend a big portion of his life teaching people on how to recite the Quran. But Imam Peter Bear, he decided that the way that he's going to progress in life and make his money is by offering these courses on how to recite the Quran, the Sunni style, for people who want to listen.
You know what my new next level fantasy to fruition? I don't teach at all. I'm not scheduled to teach at all. Someone is outsourcing all of our classes, and I show up to what I want. I believe now you all have a setup $500,000 company. I don't like to throw numbers around, but you have a setup company with infrastructure. You guys, I mean, if it's the path that you would like to have as a side thing, then start teaching, start getting trained, come to live classes and just sit in and see. Because I figured it, as impossible as I feel like, oh, no one can teach like me, you can. So I think about it. I think I would like to see if someone come in, and it'll be hard to find someone who can master all of them and teach like level, but I think there's someone who could come in and make bank just learning the level 1, teaching people how to read from scratch. So yes, yeah, I look forward to that. That's my next level, inshallah.
Throughout his career, he interacted with about 25,000 people in regards to teaching the Quran. Now, one must ponder on how often did he read the verses of God. Well, yes, he took it as a song and a dance. He didn't really maybe ponder about the word. And God does tell us that those people who are entrenched in their hypocrisy, they're deaf, dumb, and blind. They can't really understand what God is saying because God has put a seal on their heart for them to not understand the Quran. And this is something that we constantly hear from Sunnis and Shias. Or how can you understand the Quran if you do not have the authority, nor do you have the knowledge, and you need somebody to tell you what the Quran is saying, when God is clearly saying that the Quran is clear, the Quran is understandable, the Quran is something that you can relate to, and it has a remembrance for you to remember yourself and to see what others are doing. But to them, this is not a possibility. And then the verse where God says that we place the veil on their hearts lest they comprehend it. But this man is a bigger criminal than you understand. He was also pushing people to create courses so that you can also benefit of the verses of God. How do you benefit? You believe that you're teaching somebody that's something beneficial on how to sing the Quran for other people to enjoy your recitation, right? And for you to believe that you're fulfilling what the Prophet has told you to do, which has absolutely nothing to do with what the Quran was actually sent for. But then he was also pushing them to make money out of it. Now, when you get to the level where you think that you've helped so many people and that you're going to heaven no matter what, and God, He is so happy with you because you've taught people how to sing the Quran for so long, you get to a point of arrogance. And this arrogance was shown in this entity, this individual, for a very long time. From the start of his career all the way to the end, it just kept getting worse.
Quranic recitation, I'm going to stack those hips. I'm going to sit up. I'm going to fill the air in the belly. So if everyone can pick up their lassi in their right hand, their triple milkshake, and I want you to take a big sip. 5 sounds. E, U, O, A. E, U, O, A. Can you say Shaytanir Rajim? One more time. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Shaytanir rajim. You're not saying the word hooray. Bring it ooey gooey to the middle of your mouth. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim.
And this is something that God is showing us as a sign in the people in front of us. This is how you're capable of understanding who a hypocrite is from a believer, from a disbeliever. Body language is actually a sign from God. This is a way for you to analyze what God is telling you. So God tells you about the people that show their hate, right? But their hearts is concealing a little bit more hate than you understand. But God is showing you this sign so that you could see the way that they're talking to you and the way that they're approaching you. There's a disease in this person's heart. The way that Imam Drake involved himself with people, it was very easy to see that this man was very egotistical. He was very animated in a way that I'm very important. And I'm so important, but this is so daunting on me. This is so tiring that I have to serve God. But I'm very important, so I can't stop. That was his approach for a very long time. Like, this is just too much for me, but I'm so important, I can't leave. Imagine sitting in a position where you're teaching people the message of God, apparently, not the recitation, but yet you cannot see the devil when the devil's coming at you. Sexual deviancy is something that's very difficult, but sexual deviancy with children is something that you get pushed to mentally. This is a fetish. This is something that you need to climb the stairs in regards to how you're approaching pornographic material for you to start itching that itch. This is something that is not normal for people to actually relate to, that you want to hurt a child in that matter for you to get your sexual urges. Now, when God is telling you that those who are selling the verses of God, they're eating within themselves the fire. This man did whatever good he thinks he did. He taught people how to read Arabic. He taught people how to recite the Quran as per Sunni standard, and he thinks that he did well. So, as God says that whoever's looking for the worldly life, which clearly this man wanted to sell the words of God for a profit, he wanted the worldly life and he got the worldly life. But the worldly life ends with embarrassment after he made a huge profit from God's verses. And then he expressed this style of arrogance where he even wants to one up his friend because he wants the spotlight about him. He wants the spotlight on him. He wants to make sure that he is so important in the field that he is in, and he has achieved so much that even his friend cannot stand him.
For me, that moment of humility came actually not during the rites, but it was actually off. I wanted to go to the top of the mountain of light, Jabal Nur, which is where the first verses of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Now we went. I stepped away from the tour guide, and we just kind of made our own schedule. We went out. We drove out there, and I had these Nike sandals, which were just about broken in, and they had some great grip. It was like sneakers on your feet, but sandals on top. And I'm climbing up this mountain, and people are like, there's a whole line of people taking these carved in steps, and I'm climbing up the side. I'm like, yo, I am gangster. I got this, right? And then I see this like kid, probably half my age. Now I went when I was in college, so a kid half my age, probably in like middle or early high school, relatively speaking. And this kid had a plastic bag that was bigger than him over his shoulder, picking up all the litter barefoot, and he was doing it like it's nothing.
Barefoot,
right?
Barefoot.
And braving the baboons that were on the side of the mountain.
You got
so it. Like I was like, yeah, I got nothing on this guy. I'm just gonna be, settle my soul down.
I was climbing that mountain, Jabal Thor, another mountain. I was climbing it where the Prophet, peace be upon him, hid while they were trying to assassinate him. And I was climbing. I had my Vibrams on. I had a 5-hour energy in my packet, and I stopped 3/4 up, and a Turkish barefoot square grandmother, she's just hopping by. She hopped by me, no joke. She patted me on the head like, you'll make it, do, because she felt like my Prophet did this. I love doing this. So bro, love and training are two different things. Like, they just come from their inside. And Grayson, one thing that you can't get in America is we have to wear a mask. I'm on a flipping stream right now. We all wear some type of mask.
He went as far as attacking believers. There are many verses in the Quran where God is telling us that the victory is for the believer, is for the messenger, and the people who believed with the messenger. For those who are loyal to God, for those who represent the message of God, they will have the victory. Now, there's a lot of Sunnis, there's a lot of Shias, Christian Jews, and all these other sects in the world that believe that they're representing the message of God, but yet they're not finding the same success other than if they come with big numbers and thinking their numbers are availing them. But us, the believers, who are now re-emerging in a very fast and more concise manner, when we are confronted with people who want to take us down, who want to call us liars or losers, or that we're taking away from the honor of the Prophet because we don't want to worship the Prophet the same way that you worship. People who say that the book of God is complete, that it has everything that we need. We know how to pray from it. We know how to do our obligations. So we know how to have a relationship with both the creation and the Creator. You guys, when you insult us, this is usually the end of you. At that point, you get damned, because you are literally attacking people who are saying that God's book is sufficient. God's book is enough for us.
Why no questions about Hadith? Jazz, can I tell you the truth? We had a question, and I mean this with love. Talking about no Hadith is like talking to a flat earther. Because and just a TAJ in the chat box, if you could hold this up for a second. My entire existence is on the science of recitation. How is the science of recitation preserved? Through the Hadith. I am the bane of the existence of this question. If I didn't exist, maybe there weren't be Hadith. I get it. But Jazz, you with me? You know what I mean? So let me just hit you all with a quickie because I wrote this. You ready? Because here's the Hadith thing. Here are my top 5 ayahs from the Quran that explain why the Sunnah is pertinent. Surah Hashr, ayah number 9. Whatever the messenger gives you, take it. And whatever he forbids, refrain from it. Ayah number, sorry friends, point number 2. How do you know there are 5 prayers in Islam? Here are my top 5 ayahs from the Quran that explain why the Sunnah is pertinent. How do you know this 2.5% zakat? How do you know how to do Hajj? Does anyone have a Flintstone mallet that you could hit me over the head with? My flat earth eating people. Do you see the distress on my face? How do you have a religion without a prophet? Point number 3. The role of the Prophet ﷺ as the explainer of the Quran, Surah 16, Ayah 44. We have revealed to you the reminder so that you may explain to mankind what was sent down to them. You know that Jim Halpert face from The Office? Yeah, I can't do it because I'm so disgusted. Thank you. Anybody? One more? You want one more? Really? Compilation and preservation of the Quran itself is Sunnah. Here are my top 5 ayahs from the Quran that explain why the Sunnah is pertinent. Sumaya, somebody, my memorization student, save me here. Friends, the fact that you have a preserved Quran is the Sunnah. Allah Rasul Makkah Madinah. Okay. And then also, it's a consensus of like the first 300 to 400 years of companions that the Prophet ﷺ was an integral part. Here are my top 5 ayahs from the Quran that explain why the Sunnah is pertinent.
And this is something that I have seen throughout my career time and time and time and time again. Every time my community is attacked by these online dawah guys that claim that they're Sunnis, Shias, or they believe in the Quran, and they call us certain names, it's usually the start of the end of their career. I've seen this countless of times. A man will attack one of us, and then he sits there and makes a video about how he has this terminal disease. And another man can make a video about us on how kafir we are and disbelievers and we're losers. And then he ends up touching little children and getting caught, and the whole world knows about his embarrassment. These little events is God pushing the person into hell. Why? Because if you are a sinful liar, if you are attacking believers, if you are not remembering God in your day-to-day, the devil will come at you. And since you're not showing loyalty to God, the devil is going to have an authority over you. So this action is clearly from the devil. I think many of the Sunnis, the majority of the Sunnis agree that Imam Epstein Island, he actually did something that is disgusting, that is gross, and that is something that the devil pushes you to. So why is he being affected by the devil if this man is so in tune with what the Quran says? Because he's taught it for 25,000 people. Because this is the disease of Sunnism. This is what happens when you enter the world of Sunnism. The Quran has no value to you except the rules of tajweed, except the styles of recitation. There is no reflection, there is no pondering. So because you're not showing loyalty to the verses of God and you're showing loyalty to what you assume Muhammad said and the friends of Muhammad said, your assumption is what your religion is. Because you have no loyalty to the verses of God, the devil has almost a free reign on you. You are showing signs of hypocrisy. You are showing signs of arrogance. Those Jews that you like to bash on you, you're very similar in the way that you guys discuss your manners and the way that you deal with each other. God talked about how there's between Christians division and animosity till the day of judgment. All I see between you so-called Muslims is division and animosity, and it seems like it will carry on a day of judgment. Hey, Sunni, are you willing to work with a Shia? Oh, God forbid. I'd rather work with a Zionist. We've heard these countless of times. And now you have literally the people who are teaching your children Quran following deviancies, and they're not capable of handling it. If he had a a run-in with a lady and he mistreated the lady who is at a normal age of susceptible to marriage, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. But because he attacked a minor in his sexual deviancy and he used it in a way to tell somebody that it gets you closer to God, you all have a very, very bad reaction. Aside from what we said about Prophet Muhammad earlier, you guys have to really reflect on why is the devil capable of actually having authority? Why is his words and whispers affecting the best of you people? Why is it the best of you people? You're the ones who are teaching the religion. You're the ones who are bringing people closer to the religion and explaining the religion to you. I'm going to show you someone in the way that he's presenting himself. It's not going to be long until the devil actually hits him with something, and it's going to be a very embarrassing moment for him. This is not prophecy. This is not me hating the person. This is just simply foresight. You could see arrogance. God told us to look at the signs of the hypocrite. I could see the hypocrisy in the person when he's talking about God and for him to be loyal and humble, but yet he's showing you pictures of himself in a way that he is better than all of you. Because if you want, all that is missing in this picture right here is for him to put a cigar and start calling himself Andrew Tate, right? So we've reached a point where the Quran is no longer affecting you. If you really think that God is going to send you a savior because you're worthy of being saved, then maybe you should consider who you are inside as a community, because your community is painted as white from the outside and you wear your white hats and you protect your women. But deep down inside, you guys are one of the worst hypocrites that are walking on the earth, who are saying that you believe in God, yet you represent very little of the message of God. You represent exactly what the Christians represent when it comes down to guidance. Oh, I feed good. I feed the people. I do my prayers, what you're thinking is prayer is, and I just parrot the Quran when I can feel like parroting the Quran. When was the last time you actually studied the Quran? Not the tafsir of someone else, not the exegesis of your next door neighbor, not the exegesis of the guy that's sitting in the mosque or the people that wrote it 1,000 years ago. When was the last time that you sat down, brought a pen and paper, and actually studied what the Quran is saying and reflected upon it? Because the Quran is a healing to you. And this is what God said, that the Quran is a healing to the believer. Is the Quran really healing you? Is the Quran really the tool that is bringing you closer to God, or is your sexual deviancy and your desires and your whims is what brings you closer to your God? Or is it these sheikhs and scholars that keep promising you all this nonsense that has absolutely nothing to do with the religion? Is that what's bringing you closer to God? Now I have a question. Are you waiting for Imam Mahdi now? Are you waiting for Jesus? Are you waiting for all these signs that you've been promised that seem like they're not coming? Well, keep waiting. But your teachers are playing with little children in ways that they shouldn't be playing. But not only that, despite your outrage and your outcry and how gross Imam Goof is, you have absolutely no problem defending the Prophet in the exact same action that he went and seen a child naked, and he went into this child naked when there's absolutely no Quranic evidence of that A, occurring, B, that it's permissible, or C, that there's a difference between a 6-year-old and 9-year-old if he went into her or didn't go into her. A wife is a wife without the consumption of marriage. You guys say a lot of lies about God. You guys say a lot of lies about the Prophet. And if you think that these situations is going to get better with Imam Weirdo, it's going to get more and it's going to get worse, because you yourself is assuming you're going to heaven and you have no more fear of your God. So you follow your whims.